Now, I think you guys are all familiar with 3D printers. I know you guys are familiar with wooden hive setups, but are you familiar with a 3D printed beehive? Now, this setup here is a design from a company called Hex Hives. Now, a 3D printer takes a certain filament, and there's many different types of filament. It heats it up and injects it through a certain size nozzle, and there's all kind of different size nozzles. Now, with this video here, I want to look at which one of these has built out faster. Now, the 3D printed setup here is a little larger, but I'm curious as far as the configuration. When I look at these other wooden hives here, they aren't quite as developed. And is that because of the configuration, the inside of that? Now, ever since I installed the package into this 3D printed hive, I have not done a deep dive to really look at what's going on in these boxes. So let's dig into this setup here. I use a Reflectix up top. That's just more or less like an inner cover. Each of the boxes that is in this Hex Hive, the frames combined equal about 9.5 frames worth of foundation. Looking at these, I can see right here, well, they're building that comb out, and there's nectar in there as well. So they are, in a sense, working in this top deep. Now, I ran out of foundation, so I don't have foundation in all of these frames up here. I think there's about 4 or 5 missing. But if you look here, that's all brand new comb in the upper deep, and there's nectar stored in there. Let's see this outer side here. Same thing, look at that. They're starting to build comb. Now, this was a package setup. It has been installed for almost 9 weeks. Now, we can see in the second deep here, there are bees working all of the frames. I can see even on this outer frame, my entrance, if we are looking at these frames here, my entrance is here. So if we go to the furthest location, this is farthest away from the entrance. This would have been the last that they built out, and look at that, solid honey. Let's go in 2 more, and here we go. So there is brood. So that is how the brood looks in here. I want to see a frame that has mostly honey right here. Now, when I look at this frame is heavy. This is solid honey. So they have really packed this out. So we have, configuration-wise, there's 3 sections. Each section has 5 frames. Let's see this. Let's check this one over here. And same thing here. So we've got a good frame of honey on there. Now, as far as when I extract from this setup here, I probably will do what is called a crush and strain technique. Because of the size of these frames, I will not be able to use my traditional extractor. I will have to basically scrape that wax off with that honey and then let it strain through. Now, let's get into the lower deep. This box here is very heavy. All right, and you can see this colony is very large. Now, I'm very curious about this just simply because with the hex shape, I'm just curious how it will perform, because this, if you're looking at it, it's more like a hollowed out tree. Here we can see brood on there. Excellent. Let's see here. Now, the last few times that I was in here, this is where my queen was, and we can see a nice brood frame here. So there's some older larvae on there. There are some eggs in there, and I can see, so there is a little cup there. Now, I could have used foundation that went all the way to the bottom and prevented that. I just did not. And I can see there's young larvae, eggs on there as well. You know, and you see, taking out the frames, it's very easy. Very, very easy. It's a good frame of brood right there. Good frame right there as well. Now over here, I'm expecting more to find honey. No. Look at that. Nice frame of brood. Look at the larvae down in there. Look at those larvae. It's a good frame there that shows some larvae in those cells. And look at that. They have comb built clear to the bottom. There's brood on there, so it looks really nice. I mean, overall, you can see the frames, they are utilizing every frame. Now, I have had in the past where with Langstroth setups, they do not touch. On 10-frame Langs, they do not touch those outer frames. In this here, you see they are utilizing every frame. This box here, I would bet this box weighs 50 pounds. Now, the Hex Hive also, it is set up. You see it's got that sloped roof on it, so that way when rain hits it, it runs off. My entrance is over here. The rain will wash off this way, so it goes away from the entrance. This Hex setup, I am really impressed by it. Now, let's get into a 10-frame Langstroth just to compare. We saw how developed out this one here was, so let's see how a Langstroth hive compares to this Hex shape. Hey everybody, have you subscribed to Castle Hives yet? If you haven't, I appreciate you. Just hit that thumbs up, subscribe along, follow along the journey. You will even see me using my new Castle Hives cowhide beekeeping gloves. These things worked fantastic. Now, this is a wooden 10-frame Langstroth setup. I recently added on a second medium, so the configuration-wise that this colony is working is a deep with 2 mediums. Now, I have 9 frames up here, and let's just pull one of these middle frames to see what they're doing. Is there anything on it? Not really. Let's pull the one next to it. So, this Langstroth setup, they are not working this box. Hardly no weight in there. Now let me pull off this queen excluder and let's get down into this medium here. All right, let me pull an outer frame here and give myself extra space. And they're starting to work it. There's a little bit of nectar on there, so that is good. And let me see what these other frames, because I want to be able to compare what these colonies are doing. So there's a little bit of brood there, a little bit of nectar, a couple little practice cups there, brood all across in there. So in a sense, what I'm seeing from the colony that was installed into this Langstroth setup is they are working 2 boxes. They're working a deep and they're working a medium. And there's honey there. So that's the question that I have. If there's anybody that watches this that also has a Hex Hive, let me know if you have a comparison, how it compares. Because I have already noticed a significant difference in the performance with that setup as compared to these wooden Langstroth setups. This is where I'm very curious. So this is an outer frame, and look at this. The colony has not touched it. So that is where I'm already seeing a little bit of a difference between the Hex Hive and this Langstroth. Is the Hex Hive, they are utilizing every frame. The Langstroths, they are not. They're moving up, but they're not utilizing all of the foundation in each box. That's very interesting to me. Now, I can manipulate the frames and drop a frame down into the brood nest so that they will draw that frame out. But with the Hex Hive, there is no manipulation that is required. They are basically building that out on their own with no, so to say, external actions needed by the beekeeper. And I'm going to pull one more frame here, and that's going to be it, because already I can see, well, I think I'm casting my vote towards performance-wise. I'm liking that Hex Hive. Couple little cups down there, so I'm going to pull one more frame. All right. I think the vote has been cast, y'all. Now, you be the judge. You saw how this Hex Hive was set up as far as the configuration of the frames and how they were built out, and we know how a traditional Langstroth is set up. We saw that the Hex Hive, the colony in there, is utilizing all of the frames versus the Langstroth hives. Traditionally, you have to manipulate those frames to get them to work, all of them. I did not have to do that. I have never manipulated any of the frames in this Hex Hive. So overall, performance-wise, I would say the Hex Hive gets my vote. Now let me know. Just throw a comment down in there, which hive you think developed out the best. configuration-wise, just let me know. Just say, hey, Hex Hive is doing better. Langstroth, just let me know. Now, granted, this is just a one-off. I've got one setup, but just let me know. Now, I appreciate everybody watching, and like I always say, until the next one.